Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inside Golf. I'm Harry Donahue. And coming up today on Inside Golf, we're going to take a look at the 125th year of the anniversary of the Golf Association of Philadelphia. Actually, it was celebrated last year, and as part of the celebration, GAP produced a video that premiered in the fall. When we come back, we'll learn about those early days of GAP, some of the outstanding golfers in competitions over the years, and you'll hear all about what's ahead for the Golf Association of Philadelphia in 2023. And of course, also coming up today, we'll have another hot golf topic discussed by our Teed Off panel. It's GAP's anniversary and Teed Off next here on Inside Golf.
The 26th season of Inside Golf is presented by Destination Montco Golf. Your next golf getaway is in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. Visit montcogolf.com. By the First Tee Greater Philadelphia. The First Tee not only helps young men and women become better golfers, but most important, better people. Get involved. Visit firstteephiladelphia.org. By the Philadelphia Association of Golf Course Superintendents, a community of professionals enhancing the game of golf since 1925. Make sure you thank your golf course superintendent today. By GAP, celebrating 125 years of amateur golf. By Jersey Man and Philly Man Magazine, a digital publication and private business network. Read the current issue free at jerseymanmagazine.com. By the Haverford Trust Company. For life's must-haves, there's Haverford. And by Inside Golf's partner since 1998, the Philadelphia PGA Section, the experts in the game and business of golf.
Golf is the great equalizer. For many, this journey is an escape from reality, a chance to be part of a team, a career opportunity. PGA Reach impacts lives through golf by lifting people up, giving them hope, and sending them down an alternate path that they never saw coming. With PGA Reach Philadelphia, as in life and in golf, the most important shot you take is the next one.
Welcome back to Inside Golf. Yes, in 2022, the Golf Association of Philadelphia celebrated its 125th anniversary. That's a long time. How did it all begin back in 1897? You're about to find out.
The Golf Association of Philadelphia. Founded in 1897, it is the oldest regional or state golf association in the country. Started by 7 influential Philadelphia men from 4 clubs, the association maintains the same values today as it did when its forefathers created it, to preserve, protect, and promote the game of golf. The ancient sport started to gain great popularity in America around the time of GAP's founding. 3 years earlier, the United States Golf Association was formed. After a friendly competition in 1896 between Devon Golf Club and Philadelphia Cricket Club, it was determined an organization was needed to broaden the game's local appeal. That competition morphed into GAP's cornerstone event, the GAP Team Matches. On February 5, 1897, outside of the Market Street National Bank, representatives from the Belmont Golf Association, now known as Aronimink Golf Club, Marion Cricket Club, Philadelphia Country Club, and Philadelphia Cricket Club met. GAP was born. It's no coincidence the association's early champions remain an influence in GAP today. Albert Hazeltine Smith, the GAP's first champion, was the leader of the most significant group of men in Philadelphia golf history. In the early 1900s, Philadelphia Duffers struggled to compete against brethren from New York, Boston, and Chicago. So Smith stood tall, and along with his fellow golfing visionaries, collectively referred to as the Philadelphia School of Architecture, flipped the script. Countless clubs benefited from the group's touch, with 3 of the founding 4 maybe being the biggest beneficiaries. Marion Golf Club's fabled East Course was built in 1912 by agronomy expert and Philadelphia School and Marion member Hugh Wilson. The Ardmore Avenue masterpiece, a vision of Wilson's studies. A decade later, an outspoken A.W. Tillinghast built Philadelphia Cricket Club's gem of a Wissahickon course. Tillinghast, a Renaissance man who, like Wilson, was a club member, was vocal about the importance of building a new modern golf course on land owned by the club. His resume included some of the most iconic tests in golf. Philadelphia Country Club moved to its location in 1924, where William Flynn completed a work of art. Flynn, though a native New Englander, embodied the eagerness and collaborative spirit of the Philadelphia school. He would mimic nature in truly brilliant ways, said local Flynn expert Wayne Morrison. The odd club out was Aronimink Golf Club. Though not designed by a Philadelphia school pupil, the club turned to one of the most recognizable designers of that age, the venerable Donald Ross. His words say it best. The fifth club Gap welcomed, Huntingdon Valley Country Club, has produced far and away more champions than any other club. For starters, it has won a record 33 Gap team match titles, a great point of club pride. Huntingdon Valley has produced an unmatched roll call of champions. Its most decorated linksman is William Hindman III, a brilliant shot maker. Hindman headlined the Philadelphia golf scene for an astounding 6 decades. He won his first amateur championship at age 19 in 1935. At age 67, he became the oldest USGA national champion with a victory in the 1983 U.S. Senior Amateur.
Bill Hindman clearly was one of the finest amateurs ever to play the game, and he had a creativity about him. There was just almost no shot that he couldn't play. He was such a perfectionist, and he was so good that when he hit a bad shot, sometimes he would let it get to him. You know, on a national basis, there are a lot of good players that have come out of Philadelphia.
Hindman represents 1/3 of Gap's Holy Trinity. The first member of that triad was J. Wood Platt. The impeccably dressed Platt and his familiar bow tie dominated Philadelphia golf for 5 decades. He still holds a record 7 amateur titles and a record 7 Silver Cross Awards. The White Marsh Valley Country Club figurehead also captured the very first U.S. Senior Amateur Championship. However, Platt's greatest impact came off the course. He is the only 2-time Gap president, and he is the namesake of Gap's charitable arm. Since 1958, the J. Wood Platt Caddy Scholarship Trust has awarded $25 million to more than 3,700 young men and women caddies. Just give them all a chance, Platt said. The final member of Gap's Holy Trinity is arguably the greatest amateur of all time. A ball-striking savant, R.J. Sigel was the star attraction whenever he put a tee in the ground. Sigel was the low amateur in 3 Masters. In the 1980s, the Aronimink star was a national force. He won 5 USGA championships, including the 1982 and 1983 U.S. Amateurs. Sigel amassed 3 U.S. Mid-Am victories, his 1985 triumph proving the most challenging. He faced fellow Gap icon and close friend O. Gordon Brewer Jr. in the final.
There was nothing to dislike about Gordon Brewer. It was a weird feeling, maybe the most weird feeling I've ever had against an opponent. It's like I was playing my dad. I mean, Gordon's a great guy, family man, Bob Jones winner, all of the above. He's given back immensely over his lifetime. So I couldn't find any reason to beat him. To lose to a friend, a nice guy, what's there to be sad about? All you want to do is perform, do the best you can, and that's it. It's over.
Certainly, Jay Sigel and Gordon Brewer played an important part in that history of Gap. All right, stay with us. More to come on Gap's history here on Inside Golf. Next, we'll take a look at some of the more recent golf legends with the Golf Association of Philadelphia.
So, what do you want to do today?
Today, I want to run. I want to skate. I want to see a show. I want to play. I want to eat, like a lot. I want to sleep in a hotel. Can we do all that?
We can do all that and more.
Welcome back to Inside Golf. This week we're taking a look back at GAP's 125th anniversary. Who were some of the big names, some of the people who helped guide GAP to go 125 years and beyond? Let's take a look.
GAP's longevity can be credited to a collection of caretakers. Its first was President George Fow. Since 33 individuals have been elected to preside over the association and its mission for golf in Philadelphia, to preserve, protect, and promote the game. Outside of the presidency, Francis B. Warner and Frank H. Chapman shouldered the bulk of matters from 1915 to 1955. In 1952, Peg Burnett was instituted as GAP's first de facto executive director. A stickler for the rules who was beloved by all, she passed the baton to James Sykes in 1977. Sykes, an accomplished amateur in his own right, oversaw the most important moment in local golf politics when in 1996, public facilities were welcomed into GAP. Mark Peterson followed Sykes in 2000. The youngest executive director in the country, he was 24 at the time. Peterson oversees an ever-expanding association.
I believe the story is really told by Craig Ammerman best when he called me to say, we're going to wait a couple weeks because your 25th birthday reads a lot better in the paper than 24. I can remember, sweating getting ready for executive committee meetings. I can remember being terrified at the first amateur championship. An organization that has the history that it does, and to come after a fairly legendary administrator in Jim Sykes, and even before him, Peg Burnett, I knew I had big shoes to fill. When I started as an intern in '96, we had under 100 member clubs and just about 35,000 members. Fast forward to today with an expanded region that takes us on the eastern half of Pennsylvania, central and South Jersey, and all of Delaware, to be at nearly 350 clubs and 95,000 members has been more than an overwhelming growth period for us, an exciting one, and an opportunity for us to expand services, expand the staff, and have just more opportunities to help people enjoy the game of golf.
GAP today stands at more than 340 member clubs and 95,000 members. A pair of mergers have added to GAP's footprint. In 2018, GAP merged with the Anthracite Golf Association. In 2022, the Delaware State Golf Association also came aboard. Expanding its services and reach continues. GAP's most impactful efforts involve moving the once all-male organization into a group accepting of all. In 2014, GAP welcomed Noreen Moeller, its first female executive committee member. In 2018, it established a women's committee. In 2022, GAP conducted the first ever women's championship.
Women's programming is something that is near and dear to my heart, and I am really focused on. We have crawled before we walked before we run, but we realize that as we look at our demographics of nearly 17,000 women members of our 95,000 members, we need to have programming for them.
Public and private, male and female, junior and senior, scratch and net players, they are all welcome. Michael McDermott sits among a quartet that has been the most visible in GAP the last 25 years. McDermott and his long-hitting contemporary Jeff Osberg have won a combined 15 majors since 2001, and they're still going. Both are also heavily involved in program development for the next generation. Chris Lang, an Overbrook legend and GAP Hall of Famer, was the first to complete the GAP Grand Slam in 2004. He has his hands tied to the current Cobbs Creek restoration project. Lang's good friend Chip Lutz stormed shores far and wide in becoming the top-ranked senior player in the world in the second decade of this century. Lutz is the first to capture the career life cycle.
Golf here at Gap has just always been, you know, home for me. And I've just loved playing here. I've now returned back to the Philly area after having competed internationally and throughout the country, and I still consider this to be home, and it's just gives me a great sense of pride to have been able to accomplish a lifetime of winning from the time I was young to now that I'm older to have accomplished, you know, what I have.
All of these men can claim ties to their predecessors, hoisting the trophies the legends did before them. Gap, known for its rich championship administration, today still conducts 6 events that are more than 100 years old.
So there was a sort of an embedded respect for the history of Gap. I remember in particular being younger and starting to get a little better, and my dad would talk a lot about Jay Siegel and Gordon Brewer and Buddy Marucci and on. And it was always something that I aspired to be, to sort of be part of Gap in the same way that they were regarded as a part of Gap. That didn't happen overnight, certainly, but it was always something that I aspired to be a part of.
And all did so under a Gap logo that's undergone 3 costume changes. The third, and more recent, debuting in 2019. Gap communicates to its members differently today than before.
The biggest difference is when I first started getting active in Gap, my first year sort of bursting on the scene was around 2000. I had played before, but that was when I really began to play a lot. That was the first year Mark Peterson, Kirby, and others became part of the Gap as well, or were in charge of the Gap, I should say. That was really the time when Gap just took it to an entirely new level. You know, with the way they ran the tournaments and the social media, which is a newer thing, but just the video and articles and all the reporting on it was just incredible. So I think that's been a big change, how the coverage of the tournaments and how people outside of playing in it can follow it and really get behind it.
But the message has never changed in 125 years. Gap is here to preserve, protect, and promote your game of golf.
So here we are moving into year 126 for the Golf Association of Philadelphia, and Gap remains the oldest and one of the largest golf associations in the USA. All right, stay with us. More to come. Next up, our Teed Off Panel.
You're going like, how is that going to be?
And welcome back. Inside Golf now continues with our Teed Off panel. We're assembled here in the beautiful big room at Lulu Country Club in Upper Dublin. We've been doing the show here forever, and for how you can be a part of the Lulu experience, go to their website. It's lulucc.com. Oscar Mestre, no stranger to Teed Off, joining us again. Yes, that says Gap on the shield, Golf Association of Philadelphia, entering now his 3rd year as Gap's president. Congratulations.
Thank you, Harry.
Right, it went by like that, didn't it?
It's going fast. This is the farewell tour now.
Oh, well, don't even talk about that. You got a lot of appearances here on Teed Off. Courtney Curcio is from the Philadelphia section of the PGA, where she is director of foundations. Good to see you again,
Good to see
Courtney.
you as well, Harry.
And my old buddy, Harry Mays, from Swing It and Ding It fame, the podcast. And you have some big names on that show all the time.
Including you.
Well, I was going to say that, but you stole my thunder. Always a pleasure to team up again with Mr. Mays. Oscar, our topic today is talking about what makes for a great golf course. Its design, its designer, or just its place in history as maybe hosting a big event that somebody won and forever getting accolades for being, well, you know where he did that. It was at such and such. What goes into making a course great?
You know, I think it takes some bits and pieces of each one of those. I mean, to be honest, it's, you know, design, you know, what makes a golf course memorable is around design, right? But the architect brings some spotlight, shines the light on the golf course, and then as a result of that, it garners, you know, momentum. And now with the direction USGA has gone about making long-term commitments to certain high-profile golf courses, that is even going to become more and more evident in certain places, right? There's going to be more haves, maybe not as, and many more have-nots.
Yeah. The whole thing of golf course design goes back forever, when Tillinghast, George Thomas, I'm just mentioning a couple guys, William Flynn, and it almost like Courtney is, if these guys now, they're probably more appreciated now than they were when they were designing. Donald Ross here at Lulu, for instance. I don't know how he did all the courses he did. Maybe he didn't. That's a topic of another show. But I wonder if these guys ever did a not so good design that we never hear about, Or is it possible that, hey, they can put anything on paper and people are going to say, oh, wow, that's one of the best courses I ever played.
Yeah, you almost wish that it was anonymous in certain scenarios.
Yeah, and guess hey, who do you think designed it?
Exactly, based on how the design of the course is laid out. A lot of people are able to guess certain designers, so maybe that is something that we'll see, especially if it's a bad design. You probably want it to say anonymous. Who's played there and who's won there. I think that's, especially in this area, we have a lot of great history that's happened here.
Well, we have a lot of great golf courses too.
Absolutely.
And they're not on that list by mistake, Harry, from being around here forever. We're spoiled when it comes to great golf courses. Would you be able, and you're a student of the game, you love it, you've been around, do you think to pick up certain things, certain designs that reappear because a certain guy designed? I know one time I did an interview with Reese Jones, and I asked him, don't you ever run out of ideas on the design of a golf? And he went into this whole explanation. But I think there is a tendency for some golf courses, therefore designers, to repeat certain things. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, certain guys, do certain things with bunkering where you can look at an aerial shot and say, that looks like a Rayner, or that looks like a Tillinghast design because of this bunkering that he's got, or the green complexes. If you play the golf course, you're like, this is Donald Ross. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
I think there's certain guys that have certain things that they did pretty much everywhere they built a golf course.
Yeah, they even said like Jack Nicklaus,
Right.
Jack always hit, a high shot into a green, and, certain greens would not take, a low ball. And any course that he designed it with him in mind.
He designed it for
playing
himself.
Yeah, which is okay.
It's okay.
And at the time, he was at the top of the list as a player, and he made that transition to architect, as a lot of players have, some better than others, And that's interesting too, how a name, like I said before, you put your name on a golf course design, and automatically people are going to accept it. But
it's a brand.
It doesn't always work. And especially now, we went through that period, Oscar, where there was just a long list of courses opening every year. They've kind of slowed that down. A lot of courses closed. So a lot of architects now are doing work in Asia, Dubai and Qatar and all those places have really, that's where their attention is.
Sure. Well, I think that's honestly where their bigger payday is, and that's attracting them, right? So they're getting paid premium dollars to go design over there. I think actually one of the things that's resulted that's come about as a result of the pandemic is more golf courses are being built in the United States right now than what you would think we could handle, and that's one, I think, a debate for another day.
Right.
But
yeah, especially like Florida, Arizona, California.
I was just in a meeting this morning where people are talking about 7 new golf courses in this area in Florida. You're going like, how is that going to be? Where are the people coming from?
Right.
Yeah.
Because
us boomers aren't going to be around forever.
It seems like we've hit the peak of playing, right? Through
you would
numbers,
think. You would think.
We're starting to come back down a little bit, and we've got economic factors, and it's a little scary to think about some of the commitments, capital commitments that some of these golf courses are making.
Well, as you all know, that's why the PGA started a few years ago. Grow the game, grow the game, grow the game, and they realize, hey, we got to make the numbers work. Courses, supply, demand.
Correct.
We'll see how it works out. Thank you, panel. We'll be back. More of Inside Golf in just a moment.
Designed by Donald Ross, Lulu Country Club is one of the premier private golf courses in Montgomery County. This classic 18-hole course boasts a new state-of-the-art clubhouse with many amenities for members to enjoy. Members are invited to play in events, tournaments, and enjoy guest privileges. For more information, contact membership@lulucc.com.
Well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of Inside Golf. Hope you enjoyed our little look back at the 125-year proud history of the Golf Association of Philadelphia. Coming up next week, we're going to take a look back at a show we did, actually it was 9 years ago, with a Philadelphia Phillies legend and an old Philadelphia A's legend. The Phillies legend was Curt Simmons. The A's legend was Bobby Shantz. It was a great day to sit down with both of those guys, talk about what golf and, of course, baseball meant to them. Well, recently, Curt passed away. And we're going to take a look back at that day I spent with Curt and Shancy at Lime Kiln Golf Club. That's going to do it for this week's edition of Inside Golf. I'm Harry Donahue. Remember, join us next week when we sit down from the past with Curt Simmons and Bobby Shantz. It's a real dandy show.
The 26th season of Inside Golf is presented by Destination Montco Golf. Your next golf getaway is in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. Visit montcogolf.com. By the First Tee Greater Philadelphia. The First Tee not only helps young men and women become better golfers, but most important, better people. Get involved. Visit firstteephiladelphia.org. By the Philadelphia Association of Golf Course Superintendents, a community of professionals enhancing the game of golf since 1925. Make sure you thank your golf course superintendent today. By Gap, celebrating 125 years of amateur golf. By Jersey Man and Philly Man Magazine, a digital publication and private business network. Read the current issue free at jerseymanmagazine.com. By the Haverford Trust Company. For life's must-haves, there's Haverford. And by Inside Golf's partner since 1998, the Philadelphia PGA Section, the experts in the game and business of golf.